The story I'm about to tell you, it happened 80 years ago in Kilkishen, County Clare. And the young man was Tom Spratt. And he worked for a big farmer. He'd do the milking and general farm work he'd done, ploughing, doing everything. But the farmer decided that the cattle that he had, he wanted them to go to the market. He was running short of cash. And by getting rid of these cattle that he had, he'd have extra money to do what he wanted to do on his farm. So Tom took the cattle away, 25 of them. And as you know, them times they had to go to the market. There was no trucks on the road, there was nothing there, so you had to walk with your cattle. So he went up during the night with the cattle, and he walked ahead of them. There's always one lead cow in the herd of cattle. So, on his way anywhere, it took him the good couple of hours to get to the auction yard, and he brought the cattle in. And there was a great lot of people in, you know, the country people are up early in the morning. They're looking, well, always looking for a bargain. Always looking in case somebody doesn't sell their cattle. That somebody gets tired of it and says, oh, give me X amount for the cattle, and they're gone. But Tom noticed a couple of different places there in the market. He counted 10 of them. And he saw this, he was a British ex-policeman. He was there. I wonder what the hell he's doing here now, Tom said. He said he should be back in the north where he belongs, but he said he's down here. And I noticed, he said, he's talking to some of these guys, he said. There could be diarrhea. There could be, he said. He wasn't sure. But the farmer told him, he said, when you get the money, he said, or the cheque, bring it straight to the bank, he said, and put it in the bank for me, he said. So, the cattle was sold, 25 of them, and he got £200 a head for the cattle. And he got a cheque, and he went to the bank and gave him the cheque. And he said, he said, who's the person he's going to? Well, he said, there's his number there, he said. And his name is John Brogan, he said. He's a farmer, he says, I'm working for him. So they put the money in the bank, they know him straight away. They said, he's a big farmer. He said, that's right. He's getting rid of some of the stock, so he needed cash. So he came away, and he was waiting for some of the locals that have horse and cars, and he got a lift. And he went about 2 miles, and they said, that's as far as we're going, Tom. You'll have to walk the rest of the way. Ah, well, he said, I'm used to walking. But he hadn't gone 200 yards when these fellas came out of the bushes. And Tom had a habit of filling up his pipe and putting a cover on it and putting it in his top pocket. And they said to him, well, Tom, how are you keeping? I'm fine, he said. I see you above the market. And they looked at each other. They said, did you? Oh, he said. It was a big market today, he said. And I said, did you sell the cows you had? Well, he said, they weren't mine, he said. He says, they said, have you any money? He said, no, I haven't. He said, I'm a farm labourer, he said. And my job, he said, when the cows are sold, I get a cheque. And the cheque goes straight into the bank. So he said, I'm afraid, lads, he said, I haven't any money. He said, well, I'd like it, she said, but I don't. I have one child, he said, little boy. I have a wife at home, he said. And he said, it's hard to make a few shillings these days. I noticed, he said, that ex-policeman, he said, in the market. And they looked at me and I said, ex-policeman, that's right, he said. He's from the north, he said. He's British. And a couple of strange faces for him, he said. So you want to keep a he knew they were all together. But as he said to the fellows that he knew from the face, he said, my advice is, he said, keep your eyes open, because you never know. There might be from the north, he said, there might be after, he said, I don't know. And just then he got a wallop at the back of the head. And a fella, one of the guys went around him as if he was going in to make pass a drop of water. And he got a slap with a piano post in the back of the head. And he was knocked to the ground. And where he was cut, the blood spurted out of his head, up around his hair. And he was face down. And just then a horse and cart came along and just scattered in through the bushes and all. And they were fighting amongst themselves. They said, why didn't you search him? He said, if he got a cheque, he put it in the bank. He has no money. He's an aid labourer. So the farmer anyway turned around and he got Tom on his feet. He said, I'll bring you, he said, to the doctor. He's only down the road, he said. So he went down the road and he banged up the house and the doctor got up and he was half asleep. He said, what's the matter? He said, I have a man here. He said, there was attacked and he's in a bad way. So he brought Tom in and cleared the table and brought him on top, he's lying down flat. He said, what happened to you? He said, I don't know. He said, 6 guys, he said. I saw him this morning in the market, he said, at 6 o'clock. And I said, what were you doing there, Tom, in the market that all the morning? Well, he said, I had, he said, the man I worked for, he said, he wanted to sell 25 cows. And did you get paid? I did, he said, but it was by cheque, and I put it in the bank. And he said, a few miles up the road, he said, they came out through the bushes. I know 2 of them, he said, I don't know the others. So he said, I think that I are here. Or else he said it would be poisonous diarrhea, I don't know, he said. So he wound up in hospital for a week and he got 15 stitches in his head and a rusty nail that was in the post was stuck in his head, so they got that out. And the doctor said to him, he said, you want to take things easy? No, Tom, he said, because we don't know how deep that nail went in. Could have gone into your brain. And if you have problems, and you're a young man, and you could die. But the first chance, he said, you put your hand up, he said, in a day or two, and you come out of hospital. And if there's blood here, you have to come back down straight away, he said. And then you go to Dublin, he said, to be operated on. So, as look at it, he survived. He didn't go to Dublin. So he got home, his wife was there and child, and he took me up and he taught her. Well, she said, the funny thing about it was, she said, the postman, she said, was here, and he said he saw 6 guys coming across the fields. And she said, I know 2 of them. So she named them out him. He said, they're the 2 I know. She said, did you get paid? No, he said, any money I got, he said, went into the bank. Because he said, I don't know. Nobody trusts one another anymore. He said, times have changed. So I said, I have to try and get up to that farmer. She says he was down here looking for his money. He says it's in the bloody bank for the past week, he said. I put it in the bank. So she says, I won't be long, going up to the bank, up to the farmer. She went in. She said, did you get your money? Oh, I did. I wanted you to come down to my house, she says, complaining that you didn't have any money. My husband, she said, got attacked coming home. Because them bastards, she said, attacked him, they were after that money. And he had a good sense of putting it in the bank for you, she said. Why didn't you go out, she said, with your cattle? You're always telling everybody, she said, they're your cattle. And you paid for this, and you paid for that. Well, she said, you can start paying him now, she said, what he's entitled to. Which are 10 shillings a week, she said. And he nearly half killed, she said. A big screw, she said, went into the back of his head. And he's working for you, she said. And you know what's going to happen, she said. I'm going to a solicitor. Well, he said, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, she said, he was in your employment. And well, he said, he won't be able to, he said, I've cut out 25 cows, he said. And she said, I wouldn't have the money, he said, to compensate your husband. I'll give you £2, he said, for the month. That's all I can give you, he said. So she got £2, which was a small fortune, you know, them times. Because there was a pound, you had value for a pound. It's not like today's money. If you have 50 euros in your pocket and you break it, it's gone. There's no value for the money today. So, Tom, he recovered. So he was inside in Kilkishen. And the locals, they said, we're weary of these people. And we got on to the local constabulary. And they're looking into the matter. He said, they'll look into the matter all right. I saw one of them, he said, tonight, he said, 6 o'clock, he said, yeah, when I was there last week. And he's from the north, he said. I think he's a part and parcel of the IRA, he said. Because he was talking to me, he said, a group of them up there. And 6 of them attacked me, he said, and I got a peel and post stuck in the back of my head. And when they saw people coming in, he said, they went across the fields again. They were arguing amongst themselves. So his wife went to the local constabulary and she told the cops inside about her husband getting attacked. They said, we know all about it, she said. Do you know, she said, there's an ex-policeman, she said, with him group, she said, and he's from Northern Ireland. They said, we don't know. We haven't heard anything. But she said, my husband saw him there, she said, the other morning when he was above with the cattle for the man that he's working for. And they wanted his money. They know he sold 25 cows, she said, at £200 each. And they wanted the money one way or the other. Now, she said, they're the same group that I came into you, she said, last year. When they're up, she said, oh, Mary Hickey down the road, she said. And she's only a pensioner. And you know nothing about it then. And I want to tell you something now. I know they say, we'll tell you something. We know your brother is IRA. That's right, she said. All my family were IRA. And my grandfather, they were all old IRA, she said. But they were men. They were fighting the British. She said, but they weren't killing their own people at all. For a few shillings, she said. But my brother, she said, will find him and kill him. And we'll find your brother, I said, and we'll deal with him. Well, she said, you have to catch him first. So about a week after that, the old farmer came to Tom. He said to him, I'm sorry I have to leave you go, Tom. He said, because he said, I have rates to pay and I have this to pay. Look, he said, you're a farmer. He said, you're a big farmer. You have a big check, he said, every month from the dairy. He said, when when the crops are growing, he said, you keep so many bags of seeds of potatoes, he said, and they're thrown for you. Everything is done for you, he said, and you're still cribbing. You have your life with you, he said. I have a wife and child, he said. And she said, all I'm getting out of you is whinge, wine, whinge, he said. But I'll tell you something now what I'm going to do, he said. There was one of them guys, he said, your son, he said to the farmer, the youngest fellow, he said. And I was watching him, he said, inside in the bushes at the far side of the road. And when I get him, he said, I'll kill him. So he said, what do you think of that? Are you mistaken? He said, he was here with me. No, he said, he wasn't with you. Because if he was with you, he said, the night I took the cattle out, he would have come with me to make sure that the check went in the bank. But you never trusted anybody, he said. You never even trusted your wife. It was all you, he said. But I know your son, he said. He has a scar down his face, he said, here. And he said he has a birthmark here, a blotch. The scar, he says, he got it when he fell off a tractor, he says, and touched it on sheet iron that was out in your farm. You never bothered your ass to do that, he said. And when you went to the doctor, you cribbed and cried because the child had to be fixed up, he said, when he was a child. Got stitched up anywhere at all. You said, anywhere at all will do, because you didn't want to pay the few bob. So, and I'm going to get your son, he says, and I'm going to kill him. The paling post is up there, he said, with a big screw in it. And I'll take that with me everywhere I go, he said. And he said, the guys that stop me on the road, I'm going to give it them down the crown the head, he said. I'll make sure, he said, their brains in the right spot. But in the meantime, the old farmer went in and he got onto his wind-up board and he held it up to his ear and he said to the cops, he's going to kill my son, Tom Spratt. So they said, we'll be up very shortly now. We'll get to know what's happened. So Tom was inside sitting down and he had a child in his arms. And the cops came. And they said to him, you threatened that man below. Well, I didn't threaten him, he said. But his son, he said, was one of the gang. And how would you know if he was in the bushes? He said, I could see him clearly. He has a scar here, he said. And he has a birthmark on this side of the face. Aye, they said, you're mistaken. No, he said, I'm not mistaken. Maybe he has you in his pocket, he said, but he didn't have me in his pocket. So the cop hit him, the side of the face. They said, you're under arrest. So they brought him down to the station and they beat the crap out of him. And they said, that'll teach you a lesson. They said, we could bring you to court, but we enjoyed what we done. That's fine, he said. His face was all smashed in. His jawbone was broke. His nose was broke. And he had 2 black eyes. So his wife got in contact with her brother. And 2 days afterwards he turned up. So he said, the constabulary, he said, I know the guys, he said, I know them well. They were bullies, he said, when they went to school, he said, and they're still bullies. And they came into your house, that's right, he said, I had a child in my arms there, he said. And he up and he told him, he said, and I told him that I was going to shoot that bastard or kill him. The farmer, the fellow next door, he said, okay, he said, I don't want to do any more now, he said. And he said, I have a handful of the lads with me, he said. And we'll stay, if you have a spare room, we'll sleep in the spare room. We don't need a bed, we'll sleep on the floor. All we want is a white tea. And his sister said, there won't be no need of that, there's 2 beds inside, you can share them to whatever you want to do. But she said, do something about it now. And them bastards down the road, she said, they're British police. I want you to shoot the bastards, she said. He said, it'll be done. And we'll go after the others, he said. Because he said, not the one, he said, did attack your husband. But he said, several old people, he said, in different parts of the area, around Clare, around Ennis, around 6 Mile Bridge, they broke into the houses, threatened old people and beat them up for the few children that they had. So they made contact with us. So we're dealing with that matter, he said, and don't worry about, we know about that ex-cop, he said. He used to be in the IRA, he said, and he was a turncoat. There was a lot of old people, he said, arrested over him. Why he came into the south, he said, he thinks he's here. And he goes into the police stations there, he said, and the cops know him, he said. Don't want him his own, but we'll take care of him as well. I don't care if it's what you do. So there was 50 men came during the night. And they fucking lay down in the room, inside in the room. And whoever got the beds, got the beds. There was 2 in the bed, there were single beds, there was 2 up the top and 2 on the bottom. They said, that's all we want. So she said, well, I have a sack of flour, I'll bake a few cakes. There's a lump of salt butter there, she said. And if you don't mind carrot tea. They said, we never had that kind of tea. Whether you'd enjoy it, she said. So, she gave out the mugs anyway, she filled out the tea. And the taster, they said, this is great tea. Did it come from overseas? She said, no. I grew it out in the back, she said. And her brother Jim said to her, he said, for the love of God, woman, he said, who are you cutting? I don't see any tea out there, he said. And a tree's a bush, he said. The tea grows like a hedge, he said. All I can see is vegetables out there. So she went out and she got a big bunch of carrots and she washed them. And she grated all the carrots. And into the old, she had an old oven there and she threw them in there. He said, what are you doing? You're roasting the carrots? No, she said, making tea. And when he came out after an hour, it was jet black and it was very crumbly. And she put a spoon of it into the teapot now, she said, watch the tea. He said, that's the first time I drank. I had the body, he said, but I never drank it. So he had 2 big mugs of tea and he had homemade cake and salt butter. That's all I want, he said. No, he said, we'll do our job. That's what we came for. And whilst we're here, he said, we'll make a withdrawal from the bank. Because he said, They got away with it for too long, he said. So he said, we're going to make a big withdrawal. He said, whatever is in the bank, we'll take it out. He said, will somebody get killed? No. He said, nobody will get killed. We're making sure of that. They have dropped their guard, he said. We haven't bothered, he said, coming down here. He said, it must be 12 months. So he said, we'll go to the bank and we'll make a big withdrawal. So they went that night, and they went in through the roof. They climbed a pipe and up in the roof and went in through the roof. Just in case there might be something there that would so he went down, he opened the vault, he went in. Took some money here. And he said, they have it stacked nicely, he said. So he got a big hold all bag. And he filled it up. And he said, as I walked in, he said, I came in through the roof. He said, I'm not going to out by the roof. He said, I'd never bring all this money. He said, up in my back. I go, he said, the side door. So he slipped out the side door and down the back. And the boys were waiting for him. They said, how'd you do? I cleaned it all out. And I left a note to him. He said, the next time, would you please, he said, put extra money on the shelves. I have a big family. And thank you. And everything was if he didn't write it, he just put down these letters, you see. So the following one, they went in, because the girls went upstairs and they saw the hole in the ceiling. And they came down to the bank manager and they said, we must have had robbery. He said, this bank can't be robbed, he said. This safe, he said, your money is as safe, he says, as anything. And I'm the only one who knows the combination. And when he went down, the bank door was ajar. And there was up in front of him was, I had a big family. Would you please put more money in the shelves? This will hardly do me for the week. Thank you. So when we got to the destination, there was an old church there. It was ancient. And they went in there, and they went in underneath it. And they counted the money, and there was £3.5 million. It was English money. That's the grandest ever. He said, no, we can go into the north anytime we want to, because we get searched, the British money we have. And whilst we're in there, we'll case a couple of banks and we'll do the job in them. So his sister said, what about those guys? Well, he said, we killed 2 of them so far. And he said, one of them, he said, has a scar on his face and a blotch in the side. Are you sure? He said. Because he said, the old farmer that I worked by, his son had a birthmark on his cheek and a scar on the other side. And they said, yes. He told us what happened. Well, we executed him anyway, he said. Because we know who he was. We want you to tell us. And they said, we're going to get the rest of him. And if we have to follow him in over the border, we will. So there was terrible ructions anyway. They turned the young flame to a stream. They said the lad skinny ate him. So Tom went to the bank a couple of days afterwards with a fiver, an English fiver. So he said, could I get, he said, some change for that? They said, certainly. So they gave him out 5 Irish pounds. I thought, he said, I was entitled to more. They said, you're lucky you're getting £5. We were robbed. £3.5 million. and we have barely enough money to give to customers. Oh, he said, it's okay. So when he was there, he went down and he went into the butcher. He got onto the bakery and he said, 2 sacks of flour. He said, we want up to the house. And he said, a sack of potatoes and a couple of heads of cabbage. And he went to the butcher, he said, a pig's head and a couple of pounds of steak. He said, you know, the usual. He said, have you money to pay? So he turned 3 quid up on the table. He said, is that enough for you? That's more than enough, he said. Take back one of them, he said. They said, you're in the money, Tom. I am that, he said. I got attacked up the road. He said, and you know that, he said. I wound up in hospital, and you also know that, he said. And he said, I got my money that was due to me. And he said to Tom, he said, did you hear, he said, that he said the farmer's son was killed by diarrhea? No, he said. It's a good job diarrhea got him anyway, he said. I hope they did, he said. Because he said he was one of the guys, he said, that attacked me above in the road, he said. And how I know him was, he said, the scar on his face, he said. And he said, the birthmark on his side of his head, couldn't mistake it. But he said, you got another guy besides that. And inside in his wallet, there was 14 names of all the boys that was with him. And all the places they robbed around the country, he said. So what do you think of that? I got it, said the butcher, news travels fast. It does, he said. When people are in the wrong, he said, an awful lot of people are telling lies, he said. He said, I went to the farm about his son, and I thought I was going to kill him. And he went down to the constabulary, he said. And they came up, he said, I had a baby in my arms, he said. Tore me off with the chair, he said. Beat the crap out of me, he said. Brought me down to the station and kicked the shit out of me, he said. My jaw was broke, my nose busted, 2 black eyes. And they had a good time, he said. And he said, I hope they enjoy that time while still alive, he said, because they won't be alive after today. And you can fucking tell them that, he said. Because you're all talking about one another, you're all talking about being good neighbours, he said. And there's none of you have a good word for each other. That's the kind of people they are, he said. So he said, if they come up to my house, he said, I'll know who said. Or we had a conversation. So now he said, you'll be looking over your shoulder then, he said. Because some evening, he said, you'll go to the slaughterhouse, with the cattle. And you'll be hanging up in the shelf, he said, not your cows. Always remember that, he said. It will be much as well. So, Tom went away. He said, I'll give him something to think about now. I want to have something to think about, he said. That'll quieten the bastards, he said. So he goes home. And she said, you'd never believe what's there. She says, go over, she says, at the back of the chair, the armchair. She said, you'll see what's there. And they left over £100,000 to thank her. And her brother said, at the first time the cops come near you, let us know and we'll deal with them. So they went down to the police station before they went away. And they went in. And they attacked the cops. They brought them out. And they said, you beat up Tom Spratt. They said, why? He threatened to kill the farmer's son. He said, that bastard was there, he said. He was on the road when Tom got attacked, he said. He was one of them. And how would you know that? Because, you see, I'm the one that shot him at the back of the head. He was executed by me, he said, and so he's going to be executed now. So you might as well at least get rid of him. what you have on your chest. I've known you a long time, he said, and you were bad bastards, he said. You're all British, he said, all of you. And the more we kill, he said, the better. Oh, well, we have a big consignment of police, he said. Well, at the moment the consignment that was coming down, they're all dead, he said. Because the boys ambushed them, he said. And they're all dead. So they took the 2 cops away. And the phone was ringing inside, and he said to one of the boys, go in there and talk to them. And your man on the phone says, I want you to come straight away and bring as many policemen as possible. He said, we were attacked, he said, by about 50 Royal Evening. And he said, I'm badly wounded. He said, come and get me. I'm in such a place, at the back of the old church. So, we'll do the best we can. We're under siege here. And he put the phone down. So took the 2 cops away up to the old quarry. Brought him in, gave him a bullet in the back of the head. Searched them. And they got £500 the 2. They said, they won't be needing this. And we fixed him as well. So they got some petrol, poured in on the bodies and set fire to them. Thrown a handful of scrub, old bushes on top of them. He said, some of the rats, he said, can eat them when the fire dies down. So Tom, he said to his sister, he said, you're worse than your brother. I am an Irish citizen, she said, and the cops here are British. They invaded our country, she said. Even the money, she said, that we have is English. Why haven't we Irish money, she said. But we have a government, she said, that are near a bunch of cowards. That's all they are. So, I don't know, he said, what to do. But we're moving out of here, he said. I got another farm, he said, in County Limerick. And I'm getting £4 a week, he said. I know what I have to do, he said. There's 250 cows to be milked. There's a plough, he said. There's one thing and another, he said. 4 quid. And how am I going to get this, she said. We'll go by car, he said. So he went up to one of the neighbours and he said to him, we have a horse and car. He said, he went towards the village. He said, we want to see, and his old hackneys around it all. They said they are. So she got into town with the child, her few belongings, and they got a hackney to come to Limerick. And your man, but Tom Spratt anyway, he got to come to Limerick. And when he got there, he met a couple of the neighbours that he knew. They said, you were in Kilkishen? I was, he said. There was nothing but trouble there, he said. But they said there's that farmer that you work for. He told the constable, he says, that you killed his son. Did he know, he said. So he turned around to his wife, he said, pull that shawl up over your head, he said, with the baby in your arms. And up in the sidecar she went. And your man says, he says, hold on for your dear life, he said. He said, because we're going to start running now, he said, with this horse. He said, and once he goes, he said, there'll be no stop, he said. And we'll take you people, he said, to a safe place. So when they got into, started going, she pulled the shawl up and put the baby in her arms. And her few possessions. And Tom turned around to the, we said, the Jarby. And he said, yeah, he said, there's 50 quid for you. Oh, he said, thanks very much, he said. And I hope you get the bastard, he says. Because he's causing an awful lot of trouble down here, he said. Constabulary are all over the place, he said, they're attacking young people, he said. Boys and girls, he said. And he said, by putting a stop to him. So his wife said to him, she said, I'm going back up, she said. I have to go. So he says, there's an old train leaving Limerick, he said. A cattle train, I'll get into that, he said. One of the carriages there. And he'll take me to Innis, he said. And I have a short walk, he said, down the road to the farm. So he knocked when he got to the farmhouse, he knocked at the door and he turned around. The farmer said, I'm out in the arse. He said, did you get him? Oh, we did, says Tom. We got him. And he ran in. And he saw Tom. He says, so you went to the constabulary, he said, to say that I killed your son. No, he said, you know who killed your son, he said. But now it is my turn, he said, to kill you. So the old farmer ran out. And Tom hit him at the back of the head. And he fell up on top of the plough. And one portion of it went into his chest and out to his fucking back. No, he said, you'll be going 6 feet underneath, he said. So my advice, you know, he said, while you're still alive and kicking, he said, you'll ask God for forgiveness, he said, for the lies you've told, he said. And the innocent people, he said, they got beaten up by the cops. So Tom turned about, he saw this box. And he went over and he looked at it and it was full to the top with money. He said, you won't be needing this. He said, I'll leave a few quid for the undertaker. So he filled up his pockets with the money and out the door. He left about 100 quid there. No, he said, that's my lad. So he went off up and he he went into the pub. He asked for a pint. And he said, is there a jar of your own? Just said, there is. He's inside the back and he's half pissed. Well, he said, would you ever get him up? Give him something to wake him up. I give him a glass of whiskey, says the one behind the bar. If you pay for it, I will, he said. But I need him, he said. How far are you going? He said, to County Limerick. Oh, good Jesus, she said, that's over 30 miles. Well, he said, if he has a fast horse, he said, he'll take me there. So Tom, anyway, he paid for the whiskey, you know, but I wasn't long getting his feet underneath him. And he got up in the sidecar and he took off. And he was half asleep. So Tom tied a rope around his fucking waist and tied him onto the sidecar. No, he said, you can't fall off. And then taking this horse, he said, no, we're going for a good ride. So the horse took off. And he was a good stepping horse. He went about 15 miles. He said, that's not bad. I'll go down to the station now, he said. And we know a train went into Limerick. He said, an old goods train. So he pulled into the station and he met one of the guards. He says, you're a train going to Limerick. They said, you better get on it now. Go into the gas, into the last carriage, jump on there, and we'll get in contact with your man by phone and tell him you're okay. So he made a run across the tracks and he jumped up. He missed the step post and he hit his fucking chin off the train. And he got up again and he went after it and he got a lift and he brought him into Limerick. And he got a job outside the railway station and it cost him 25 quid and your man took him out to County Limerick. He said, there's nothing but turmoil in the country within bastards way up from the north, he said. I heard, he said, IRA, he says, ambushed, he said, a crowd in County Mayo. Oh, he said, oh, it is, he said. They set by it, he said, to their armoured cars, he said, and the 4-wheel drives, and he said, Christ knows what. And they shot them all, but one. They left him in the one. So he was calling in around, and they were listening. And they were waiting for the cops to come, and they were ambushing them and shooting them. So he said, we might if we had a good government, we might have men. But he said all the men we had in our lifetime are gone. So he said, we'll go now. I'll take my wife and child, he says, and we'll hire ourselves, he said, we'll work away, he said. My wife can do the housework, he said, with a baby. And I do a bit of farm work, he said. And he said, we are working on a farm, he said, they won't bother you. Because you're only going to see the boss man. So, he lived in County Limerick for 50 years afterwards. His son, baby grew, he grew to be a fine young man, and he took off. And he went to Canada. And he was in Canada, and when the father died, he came home, buried his father. His mother had been dead 10 years previous to that. And he got a lot of her writing. She wrote about everything, about diarrhea and about the constabulary. She wrote about everybody. And he said, I take these books and I have them printed in Canada, he said. And I let the people in Canada see what the British have done, he said, to the Irish people. So he sent them off, we sent all the writing off, and it was a bestseller. There was 2 chapters in the life. They said it was nothing but hardship for those people. You couldn't sit down and have your grub, but they were kicking in the door. They never knocked at the door, they kicked it in and pulled the husband out. And if they felt like shooting you, they'd shoot you. So he said, that's how it goes, he said, and that's how it went. And he said, no, he said, the people of Canada, he said, no, he said, what the British are doing. And so is the Americans, he said, they know. I sent them a copy, he said, of the book. So now, he said, we should get results. So about 6 weeks after, he got a letter from the President of America stating that they were going to lobby the English government to pull out of the South. And they said, we're making Ireland one of our states. The 54th state will make it. And you will have no choice but get out of the country altogether, both north and south. So, there was great crack about it, about the 54th state. But our president said, no, we are 32 county Ireland, and we're going to stay. We're not going to be the state of America, the state of England, or anybody else. We are private people, we're hard-working people, and we're going to live our life like we're supposed to. Why should we have England ruling us? And why should we have America ruling us, or any other country? So there was big negotiations made, and they were pulled back up into the 6 counties. And they left nothing after them. They left nothing, they took everything. But at least the people say they're gone. So Tom Spratt lived his life in America. He was called after his father in Canada, I should say. He lived his life and he had a wife and family. And he said, if you're going anywhere, he said, go to Kilkishen in County Clare. He said, that's where he started. And you move from that, he said, you go to Innis, he said, to the market there. Today there's motorcars there, he said. You can drive there now, he said. And then he said, you might meet people, he said, that knew Tom Spratt. He was a great worker. And he said, he went back to County Limerick. That's where they originated from, he said, County Limerick. And he said, They disguised themselves, he said. So now, he said, you have the story. The whole story, he said, about Tom Spratt and his wife and son. The British, he said, doing a lot to the Irish, he said. But he said, we must look at it like this, he said. Christ was crucified on the cross, he said, and he forgave his enemies. And we have to do the same, in a kind of a way, he said. What they done to us, we'll forgive them, he said, for that. So that's it, he said. That's my story, he said. So his story finished there.